within 48 hours, you're going to have a dream.
Welcome to the Blue Door Playbook, a podcast for the soul, featuring the work and wisdom of archetypal psychotherapist Timothy Tate. I'm your host, Putter Brown. Episode 12, 3 Types of Dreams. Let's start this podcast off by saying there is literally no one on the earth right now who knows more about dream time than you.
Well, thank you, Putter.
So take me back 40 years-ish of your private psychotherapy practice in Bozeman, Montana. Take me back to when you first got interested in the dream time.
Yeah, good question. An origin story of sorts. You know, I'd always had a relationship with my own dream time. I valued my own dreaming, although more as a, not hobby, but just a casual kind of connection to it. And so as a student of the mind, so to speak, I was always interested in the different dimensions of consciousness. And so it was at that time, 40 years ago, 40 years ago, that's funny, you know, I thought I knew everything, and I think I said that before in one of our podcasts. And yet at the same time, I was searching for some guiding principles for my practice, or for my life, for that matter. And Susan, my wife, is a gifted dreamer and has always brought dreams to the table. And we've both been fascinated by them. And so it kind of was a, so to speak, a natural evolution into keying on dreams as a part, if not fundamental aspect of what it means to be human. And so that's kind of how it got rolling. I turned my focus to it and started reading it. And I think one of the other sessions we've had, I had Jung's autobiography. So that was kind of the opening. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's at least 40 years ago.
Wow. And in Jung's autobiography, the title is Memories, Dreams, and Reflections.
Yes.
And so in that book, he shares stories of his dreams or his clients' dreams.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, a little of everything. Mm-hmm. He told his own story and how he came to dreams in his own life. And one significant dream that caught his attention. And from there on, it was his passion. But there was an original dream. And I'm not going to remember it precisely, but it had to do with ancient times, I believe in Roman times. And so that did two things, you know, the power of dreams and the influence they have on us, and how can I be dreaming of something 2,000 years ago? Yeah. So that was the rocket fuel that launched his lifelong passion for the dream time.
And when did you start tasking your clients, or when did that back and forth, clients getting a dream, bringing it to the Blue Door, and you starting to work it?
You know, it's been a part of my practice since the beginning. Mm-hmm. You know, what I just said was where I got keyed into dreams. Yeah. But then flash forward to 1982, they were a central aspect of my sense of what we mean by reality, even though we're asleep when we dream it, so how can it be real? Mm-hmm.
And the clients are bringing these dreams day after day after day, week after week. And you start to get a sense of some commonality or like something common, even though every dream is unique to that person.
That's
They're
right.
bringing something similar.
Yeah. Similar might be a stretch, but they're bringing content that does have themes. And in that sense, I guess we're talking similar. And that started to catch my attention, even though the characteristics and players in the dream were unique to the individual's psyche, unless it came from the collective unconscious, and that's another story. But the personal dreams have their own kind of narrative unique to the individual, and there are patterns and ways of breaking it down if that's important to do. And as I think you know, I've kind of progressed in my dream work and my perception of dreams. So the fascination turned into a dedication to working with dreams as basically the first question in each session. What'd you dream? Did you bring your dream journal? And let's hear an aspect, let's hear a full dream, and that's how we'd get rolling for the session. Yeah.
And as a man from Montana, a man in Montana, tell me how the idea of a copper came to you.
That's good. Shout out to Butte. Well, yeah, we have those 3 levels, and I guess you'll be talking about each of those in turn. But the copper level, to me, is mining, so to speak, our daily residue of everything we've experienced during the day, but didn't pay attention to, or were too overwhelmed by, or did catch our attention and took us wherever that would take us. But the copper dreams, I called them copper because, again, mining, and it's not a precious metal. It's a utilitarian metal. You know, it's great for electricity. It's great for connecting things. And yet, in my perspective, it was simply the residue of the day is usually the first series of dreams we have every night. And that's what we call the copper dreams.
And as your clients would come with these copper dreams, what do they sound like in general?
Yeah. A lot of stream of consciousness, just kind of like a story, although not that interesting. It's like if you were caught in a line at the supermarket and started talking with somebody, started jabbering away about this, that, and the other thing of no real consequence, but it had content and there was some kind of connection being made in sharing that story. But the relevance to the deeper meaning of life is absent. It's more a question of flushing out the past day's residue.
It's interesting you say flushing out.
Yep.
Because it always felt to me like some kind of very important cleaning or very important work.
Absolutely.
That, as you said, didn't show the deeper meaning.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I'm a meaning junkie, and not everybody is. And I'm not here to convert anybody to meaning being so central to the human experience. So when a person is able to even remember a dream, the copper dream, you know, we celebrate that. It's not like, oh, that's not worth anything. It's it cracks the gates. It opens the doors to the relevance of dreams for that particular person. And the copper dreams tend to just go on and on and on and on and on with nothing really catching our attention. I don't know if it's like Roto-Rooter or not, but, it's cleaning out the psyche for the next dream series to come during the night. It kind of takes care of the surface material.
Mm. And moving into that next dream series with the theme of metal or precious metal or mining, then you named that silver.
That's right.
And tell me about that kind of dream.
Yeah. Well, the silver dream came to my attention because listening to dreamers, I realized that there were parts to dreams. And I didn't know what they were, and I didn't know what it meant. But I do know that when a dreamer would be reading a dream, it'd start with, and these are the 4 parts, but you'd start with a theme. And then in the dream, something would happen. There would be a scene shift. And it was noticeable. I could be in a urban environment in the theme part of the dream and overwhelmed perhaps by all the traffic and noise and negotiating my way. And then is what is said. And then I was in my backyard where I grew up. And I was on this jungle gym and fell off. And so the first part of the dream is the theme when we're talking about the silver dream. And the second part is the key element or characters in the dream that furthers the theme. So there'll be some episode or something that's action-driven and something happened. And then there's kind of easing into without really thinking about it, but there is a scene change, which is what really caught my attention, as if in a movie. There was a scene change, and that takes us into the third part of the dream, which is the dynamic part, where the key elements of the second part, the theme of the first part, are now activated into, shall we say, a psychological dynamic. And so that will be a rather, that's where the work lies. The deeper work lies is in that third part, because there's that whole question of meaning again. There's something being broadcast here that applies uniquely to you and your life and to your psyche. And so let's spend some time with that. And so they would read the dream, for instance. I would speak it. I'd ask them to tell me it again. And then something would catch our attention. Some word, some phrase, some detail. And the body helps in this process because there will be a tear often. There'll be an emotion, and often the client will say, I had no idea I have no idea why I'm crying right now. I go, well, let's sit with that. Sounds like a psychotherapist. Tell me how you feel. Let's sit with that. Let's see what happens. And so then associations start to happen, which is another part of the productive work of dream time and working with a dream, is in speaking something that seemed to be just a storyline, and then there's some evocation, some evocative content in what was being said that caused them to release some emotion. And then we sit with that and follow that because there's now meaning in the dream for them. And those associations can take us anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I haven't thought about that guy in 20 years who showed up in that third part of the dream.
Yeah.
Or oftentimes it's key players, siblings, parents, wives, husbands, partners that show up in some active role in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
And we work that for a while. And then we move on to the fourth part of the silver dream, which is the task. So from the first three parts, we've worked our way towards something that needs to be attended to. And this is an actual doing, hence the word task. And that's the real creative part, you know, for us to sit together. And for me as a therapist, to come upon what that task is and assign that task for the next session, for the next dream. And that task part is really what activates the deeper meaning or relationship to the content for the dreamer, because they have to do something. And examples of those, I suppose, without violating any confidentiality, one in particular really caught my attention, was the intensity of a woman's feelings that we came to during our talk about the dream time and the task part, motivated me to say, you know, do you have any old china, any old flatware that's just in the garage somewhere or you're done using? She goes, yeah, I've got a box or two of that. And I go, okay. So your task is to get in your vehicle and drive to Logan, which is the name of a dump for our general area, and take that chinaware and break it over rocks, other rubbish. Just break it. And she did. And during that kind of evocative moment, she came to other things. Mm-hmm. And then the cycle repeats.
Wow.
Comes back.
And giving that task to her came from the fourth part
mm-hmm.
of her silver dream.
Mm-hmm.
And how rare is it for you to hear a silver dream or someone to dream a dream like that, 4 parts,
yeah,
get it down on paper,
yeah,
and bring it to you?
Yeah.
How rare is that?
Well, when I was rolling in dreams being a central part of my practice, which was a good chunk of time, not that rare. Because there is, in my mind, an attraction in our psyche to being listened to and to being heard. You know, it's slugging away all the time, just trying to keep us sane. But when you turn deliberately to face things like we are in the task part of a dream, after having worked the dream through those other 3 parts, psyche's going, well, God, finally, you know, I've got your attention. And so there's both relief and a kind of curiosity is hatched.
What an incredible gift from the other world for the client, right? To get that dream.
Yes.
And be able to write it down and then bring it to you.
Yes. Yes, it is. What a gift. And I think after an individual spends some time in this kind of conversation with me, they begin to realize the gift and then become fascinated in terms of making it more of a priority and keeping a dream journal by the side of the bed and not be satisfied with, I had a dream last night, but I can't remember it. Mm-hmm. And so it is a challenge to see if you can wake up while you're asleep, not literally, but consciously, and know that you're dreaming, and then maybe wake up enough to write some things down. And then when I started, it was like, well, wake up and write the dream. And that was too big an ask. Mm-hmm. Just like, where's my, and then it evolved into kind of just key frames, key images. Just see if you can catch those. And then the iPhone came along in its various iterations, and then that became the tool of just a voice memo. And those are pretty funny to listen to.
Wow. And sometimes a journal next to the bed for right when you wake up.
Yep.
And 6 a.m. or any time in the morning, get that down.
Yep.
And some people that are active in your practice, are they bringing multiple silver dreams over the months that they're working with you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good question. There is a relationship to both seeding more dreams of that nature and to start to change behavior back with the task. There are dreamers in my practice, people who really bought the ticket and have been dedicated to dreaming ever since they really learned the preciousness of it. And we're talking some people, like I might have mentioned, have been in my practice for decades. Not every week, not every month, but always tuned in to an important dream. And when they have it, they make a session time and we go into it.
Wow. Incredible.
Yeah, it's been very meaningful.
And then from the silver, we take the next leap to the gold dream.
Yes, sir.
And what does that look like or sound like? Or
Yeah, these are the ones that knock your socks off. It's not like the copper dream that goes on and on and on. It's not like the silver dream, which is working in the minds and trying to figure out what those four parts are. The gold dream is the dream that comes to us when we're fully rested. So when we think about our sleep cycles and we think about the copper dream, it's when we're trying to get to sleep. And sometimes we get to sleep right away, but it'll be the first series of dreams. And then usually about somewhere between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, we'll have the silver dream in our second or third REM stage or event, rapid eye movement, right? Mm-hmm. That wasn't discovered that long ago, that when you dream, your eyes are in a scene. They're there. They're tracking. And so the gold dream then, after those are approximate hours, but at around 4 to when you wake up, 4-ish to 5 to 6, you'll get a gold dream, if you're lucky enough, which is a showstopper. It's brief, it's luminous, hence the name of it. You can't forget it. These other ones you might have trouble with and really have to work at it. But a gold dream, you don't forget, and it sticks with you. And it's brief, and it's luminous, and it's a gift. I would say that in the rate of dreaming or the number of dreams had, if we're plotting this out somehow, we'd have that up and down seismic copper. We'd have a lull, and then we'd have the activity of the silver, and we'd have a lull. And then we have the opportunity for a gold dream. They don't happen every night. The other workhorses do. But the gold dream, by definition, is precious and a gift. And they're usually, like we've mentioned, brief. And when we dream them as dreamers, it makes an impact. We often wake up. It's just like, Jesus, that was what? Yeah.
Yeah.
To get our attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that inspiration and that being charged up for anybody at any age is special. Mm-hmm. But for a 77-year-old, that jolt or that energy or that inspiration is really precious. Mm-hmm. And I'm very grateful for those moments. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, there is the recurring dream, which we have talked about or not. I don't think we have.
So. Yeah.
And that was another theme or another event, really, that caught my attention in my practice, as individuals would have recurring dreams. Same high school locker, can't remember the combination. Same district in town that I've walked a million times and I can't find my way home. So the recurring dream started to catch my attention. People would go as far as saying, I have this dream every night. And then it occurred to me what those dreams were helping us with was identifying your shame. Recurring dreams spotlight your shame. Like my shame today. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be late, Putter. Mm-hmm. I can't abide being late. Mm-hmm. I was 3 minutes late. Yeah. No. And then flash back to the whole idea we talked about last time about perfection and all the compensations we have for shame. Mm-hmm. But the recurring dream was a snapshot of an individual's unique aspect of their shame. Not the whole story. We can't handle that. And if we then work that dream, which simply means, okay, what is the scene? And I can remember this one gentleman, with a medical degree and in the practice and all that good stuff. It was something to do with a particular door from childhood, and I love doors. I love portals. I love windows, doors. And I said, do you know where that door is? And he goes, yeah, I do. And I go, where is it? He goes, I think he said it was in Buffalo, New York. And so I said, well, are you going home for the holidays? And he goes, I am. Well, go to that door. Whoa. Knock on that door. Which he did. And I think the current resident was a bit befuddled. But in doing that task, he never had that dream again, that recurring dream. And that's the connection I found that was really evocative for me and pragmatic and effective for my practice. Once you identify that recurring dream and one part of that dream that really catches your attention, the basic theme of that recurring dream, and again, do something to not do something about it, but do an action. it never comes back.
Incredible.
It really was. I thought it was one and off, that was okay. But then over and over again, we had the same results with that recurring dream, identifying a particular act that, if done, that recurring dream goes away. Its mission has been accomplished. I'm going to keep bugging you until you get the message. And when the message is received, it's like, okay, great. And you're not plagued by that recurring dream. That's been a real gift for people in my practice, actually.
And does that typically open up a conversation then about shame and that person's experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There was some context to that image, for sure, that recurring image. And so that gave us, that recurring image gives us an opportunity then to explore the context, the situation. Tell me about Buffalo. I hear it's cold. But yeah, it gave us an opportunity to, again, provide that meaningful context. And once that bell is rung, the dreamer goes on and delivers the next word. But it won't be about that one. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Really quick turnaround on those puppies.
Incredible. How did all the dream work through all the years, how did it evolve you? Or how did it affect you personally, hearing all these incredible stories from the other world or wherever that comes from?
Yeah, right. How did it affect me hearing all these dreams? It gave me a sense of gratitude, of course, but also confidence in this story we're in, which is often pedestrian, is not the story. It's what we have been acclimated to and socialized to focus so much time on. But once you start to mine this gold, so to speak, and start to have a relationship with a bigger story in my life, that gave me confidence and it gave me a sense of there's a lot more going on than you know and than you think, and you can trust that. Particularly as we age, and particularly as we approach, death and dying and ultimate death. If you don't have some sense of confidence in what you've learned and that this is a much bigger story, that becomes that event becomes really threatening. Or it becomes another stage of life. I'm somewhere in between these poles.
Yeah, I remember you saying to me one time, your personal fear of death relates to your ego's grip.
Yeah, it's the ego's attempt to wrestle us into that small container because it doesn't want to be put out of work any more than any of us do. It has a job to do. And when you transcend the ego's demand, then it's a whole different story. And when we think about, the whole idea of ego, it's not necessarily in my playbook what we mean by ego. And I think what we're talking about is the closer you get to some personal / universal truth, which I believe there are universal truths, the less anxious you become. And that's kind of the point. When you can grasp that there are universal truths, which, of course, religion's made a heyday on. And I'm not talking about those. Those are interpretations of the universal truths. That's the mythology around universal truth. So universal truth, what the hell's he talking about? And, I'm not going to go off the on-ramp there, but it has something to do with what is essential to all people across culture, across time.
How can someone who's listening start to journal but not have a mentor to bounce that off? How can somebody who's listening start their dream journal and start to see and feel copper dreams and start to write down some silver dreams, knowing that they don't have a mentor?
Yeah, that's a sad story, because I think that's the norm. People are either agitated and bothered by their dreams, which, when you don't pay attention to those, they then transfer, devolve, or evolve into nightmares. And that can get your attention. So how one without a mentor does their dream work is to value the image, not get caught up in working through analysis or dream interpretation. Put those books down. There's information there, and many of the people who've written those books have helped those who can't afford therapy and the concentrated work. But if we have a message to share with our listeners, it's simply to start with the valuing of an image and write that image down, paint that image, draw that image, play with that image, and see what kind of experience you have with that. And if it's something that is interesting you and moving you, then look me up.
We've reached the end of another session in the Blue Door Playbook, a podcast for the soul, featuring the work and wisdom of archetypal psychotherapist Timothy Tate. I'm your host, Putter Brown. The content in this podcast is strictly for informational and entertainment purposes only. If you are experiencing mental health symptoms, please contact a mental health provider in your community.